everybody, good afternoon and welcome to the United Stand. Two quite big updates for a Sunday afternoon. We spoke about Camavinga this morning and it was very tentative, very unsure. We've now got very credible French reports confirming Manchester United's interest in Eduardo Camavinga. And we've also got big developments around the exit of Diego Dalot from Manchester United to AC Milan, which will upset some people. I saw somebody in the chat there saying Diego Dalot is very disrespected, he may as well leave. I don't disagree with that point, but I think we can all agree on the fact that if you want Dalot to stay or you want Dalot to go, what we don't want is him to go on loan. It's a halfway house. It's like being kicked out your house by your wife and she puts you in a travel lodge. Am I leaving you or not? Am I Hancock or not? Have I got somebody else to go to or am I coming back? I don't want to be in a travel lodge. I want to know where I'm going, and I don't think Dalot wants to go in a travel lodge. Is he part of the family or is he? Go and build another family somewhere else, but don't put me in a travel lodge on loan, and he doesn't want to be there. So I think there are people that would like Dalot to stay at the club. I'm not too sure. I mean, to be honest with you, I wouldn't have minded Dalot staying at the club rather than spend 20 million on Trippier and wasting time on a backup right back. But Ollie clearly doesn't like him, so I would like to take the money. I would like to take the money for Dalot and move him on. So that's quite positive. But let's start off about Eduardo Camavinga. Now, this I actually spoke to somebody this morning about this, and it wasn't where this source has come from. So I've got to give a shout out to MUFC MPB on Twitter, because he went after Mohamed Bahafsi, who is a very good French journalist. In relation to, I don't know whether he actually is French, but he's very good around the French football scene. And but I'd spoke to somebody this morning, hopefully going to speak to them in more depth tomorrow. And what they said is that all they could say to me was, look, Manchester United may be in for Camavinga, they may be in for other people, but they won't be going for anybody unless this is a Paul Pogba replacement. This is not a keep Paul Pogba and get Camavinga. And their stance to me has always been that United might get a midfielder, but one of Pogba and Van der Beek will go, and that's what United's plan is. So it's very unlikely that you get Camavinga or Ruben Neves or any other midfielder that you want, and you keep Pogba and you keep Van der Beek. Now, I disagree with that. I don't like that. I'm sure most of you don't agree with that, but that is the story. That's always been the case. So I would keep that in mind. Emmanuel says Camavinga won't want to come to a small club, which is exactly why Fabrizio Romano said that he's not in talks with Arsenal. So what is actually going on? Let me just bring you the updates here. This is coming from, as I said, fair play to MUFC MPB on Twitter, because they actually chased up Mohamed Bahafsi, and he said Manchester United have officially expressed interest in Eduardo Camavinga and will meet with his entourage next week to convince him to join. PSG remains the priority of the player and he would love to stay in France. Manchester United officials are trying to convince Camavinga to join the club, while his priority is to sign for PSG in order to continue his progress in France. PSG are still in the race and are waiting for the player's price to drop. Manchester United have made Camavinga a top priority for this summer. United have already started discussions with Camavinga's entourage, and another meeting is scheduled for mid next week between them. So, I mean, look, that reads far more. That reads far better than the situation we were in this morning, where I think it was coming from a fairly reliable Belgian journalist, but also I think it was the Daily Mail or something like that in the UK. So that's coming from a good French outlet that Manchester United are in talks with Camavinga's representatives about a move to Manchester United. Of course, the big red flag is PSG. And as I said this morning, Camavinga, to me, 18 years of age, we'll talk about his position in a minute because I think there is a debate to be had there. But Camavinga, to me, is a player that, at 18 years of age, he almost is a Pogba replacement. If you're going to replace Pogba, he almost is a Pogba replacement because he's that sort of a star quality. At only 18, he's not 19 till I think it's November or something like that. But I've got to say right away, this feels a bit like Varane. This feels like United going after a player that they can't get. Now, are they doing that on purpose to get all the recognition and clicks and everything like that? Or are they doing it with a genuine plan to get the player? Because it just feels to me... and is the true story true? I think United would like to get Camavinga. I think Rennes probably are looking for 40 million with a year left on his contract. I think United can afford that. I think he's well worth that. I think he's a player that will double in value in the next 2 years. You look at Jude Bellingham, 25 million from Birmingham. He's worth 75, 80 million now in a year. This is the sort of signing United should be making because he's better than McTominay, he's better than Fred, and in a year's time his value will double. It's a no-brainer for United to do this, especially with Pogba potentially leaving. It's a no-brainer, but can you convince the player to come? Wildcat, thank you very much for joining the members club. Thank you for doing that. This feels a little bit like, to me, remember when you was a kid, and I don't know whether you used to do this, but when I was a kid, I don't think kids nowadays do it. When I was a kid, I mean, I had nothing else to do. We didn't have phones or anything like that. So you used to go around and play at your mate's house. You go and play Connect 4 or Boggle or something. Maybe go on your bikes, go on a bike ride. But the reality is, quite often when I was at primary school, you used to go around your mate's house, and they'd come round your house after school. Can I go around Stephen's house, please? Yes, you can. And then when you're around Stephen's house, you realise it's quite nice round Stephen's house. He's got all the good Lego. He's got all the Masked Crusaders and all that sort of stuff, all the He-Man. But his mum's dinner's not that nice. She always gives you burnt sausages and burnt chips, and it's not as nice. It's not that nice. But so you're around Stephen's house, and you say to Stephen, "Go and have a word with your mum and see if she'll go and get us a McDonald's or something like that." And he goes, "Well, I'll ask, but I think she's already got the chips in the oven. They've been in there since 10 o'clock this morning." He goes down the stairs. He says, "Can we have a McDonald's?" He comes back up with a sad face. Nah, it's sausage and chips. And it feels a little bit like that to me with United. Maybe with Varane, certainly with Camavinga. We're going to ask. We're going to ask if we can have Camavinga. We can have the nice meal. But the reality is, we're going to end up with burnt sausages and chips, which is the midfield that we've already got, I suppose. So I think United might ask for Camavinga. I don't think they'll get him. Because, as I said this morning, he just doesn't feel like the sort of signing that United would make. He feels like a PSG signing. He feels like a Chelsea signing. He feels like an AC Milan signing for some reason. He doesn't feel like he's a player that would come to Manchester United. I'd love him to, though. Stephen Nesbitt, welcome to the Members Club. Thanks for joining. Get a little badge next to your name. If he wants to play first-team football, he's better off joining United. He's not going to surpass Paredes, Draxler, Danilo, Verratti, Gay and Sarabia. And Wijnaldum. Delicate official. Good point. If PSG go for Pogba, it's one club race and we should get Camavinga. But the question is, will Oli play him or another Ahmed Case? Says Sakin Murty. We've got lots of fantastic young players. Oh, we have. We've got Ahmad. We've got Greenwood. We've got Hannibal. We've got you could have Camavinga in that situation. We've got Garner. We've got lots of young players. The reality is, will they ever get played? On this, I spoke about this morning. He's not a CDM. He's not a CDM. He's not a CDM. He's not a CDM. If everybody said Camavinga or Gravenbach is a very good, brilliant point by VD Music. He says Camavinga or Gravenbach. Can I just say Gravenberch actually? You're sleeping on Camavinga. He's 18. You can't say he's not a CDM. You can't. He plays midfield. Has anybody actually watched Camavinga a lot? Because that's the big thing. And I'm not going to pretend I've watched loads of him. But as I said, I've been aware of him for like the last 18 months, maybe last 2 years. And every now and again I will watch him. And he is really not the player I think people think he is. I think people think he's they think he's Pogba. Because it's lazy to say that any up and coming French player is the next Paul Pogba. And he's not Paul Pogba. He's a much better tackler than Paul Pogba's ever been. I would say one of his biggest attributes is his tenacity in tackling. So look, he's a very good player. I think he's a modern player. In many ways, he's a little bit like Gravenberch, but I think he's better. But he's one of these modern players who's got everything in his arsenal. And as I said this morning, could he play in a midfield pivot with Donny van der Beek and Camavinga, or Pogba and Camavinga? And the answer is yes, yes, and yes, because he reminds me more of a Kante type player. Kante is underrated in his ability to dribble with the ball, drive forward with the ball, do 1-2s, and intelligently move the ball forward. I don't see Kante, as I said this morning, as a Jorginho or a Carrick who just sits in front of the back four and just plays 30, 40 yard, 5 yard passes. And I think that's what Camavinga is. I think he revolutionises your midfield. So I think he can be the CDM. If we bought Camavinga, I wouldn't be saying let's go and get a specialist CDM. I would see him as a player that would come in and solve our midfield issues, because he's very different to anything else that we've got. Is he a specialist CDM? No, he's not. Is he 18 and could become a specialist CDM if you wanted him to? I don't think he's the sort of player where you'd need a CDM. I think you put him in a midfield with a Donny or a Pogba, or maybe even a McTominay or a Fred if they fulfilled their potential in not having to sit in front of the back four, and I think he'd work really well. Camavinga shares the same agent as Chong. James, Alanga, Shaw, Henderson and many Premier League players. He changed recently, says Finn. Probably going to go to Chelsea. I've watched him 4 or 5 times, Mark. He's honestly a combination of Fred defensively and Pogba in the attack. He's absolutely brilliant. And I think Gabriel, that makes me... Look, he's probably not going to end up as a United player, but I'm telling you now, I think there's most people in the chat would be extremely excited to sign Camavinga for Manchester United. Because yes, he's not a specialist CDM in relation to what I believe we need. But I'm not sure you would need that specialist CDM if you went with him. It would be brave, but it would be effective. You would basically have a midfielder that can do all the defensive work and be an asset going forward. But you need somebody next to him who can do that. 2 very intelligent footballers. The dream would be Camavinga and Pogba. But look, as I said, you know, I don't think we're getting McDonald's. I think we're getting sausage and chips. Mark, I'm surprised to see nobody mentions Locatelli. He's a beast and a leader. Exactly what we need, says Arshan. You know what? I just want to, before we talk about Dalot, I will just talk, because it's only a quick show, because we've got to do the Euros at 4:30 for the Netherlands game. Join me on That's Football for that. Also, can I just shout out, I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. It's not really mine, but I am on TikTok. I'm not really running this. Well, it is my account, and I do upload, you know, some exclusive stuff. But it is an official Goldbridge TikTok. Links in the video description. I've put up my Euros predictor, and there's quite a funny clip going up at some point this evening as well. So if you are on TikTok, make sure you check it out. Links in the video description. This is the official Goldbridge TikTok. So make sure you give us a follow. Links in the video description if it's your thing. Kieran Roberts, welcome to the Members Club. That's 3 new members since we've been live. Thanks everybody for supporting the channel. You get your little badge next to your name. Really appreciate that. If we're looking at Camavinga, that means either Pogba or Downey are leaving, and we are preparing for that because until Ali goes, McFred are playing, says Sean Turner. And Mark, I showed your videos to my friend Denny Allen. Call him a prat. Denny, you're a prat, according to Sheikh. Sean Turner's right. If you've just tuned in, I've just literally just said that. Mohammed hates TikTok. Some people do, some people don't. I just actually said that. I spoke to somebody this morning who said exactly that. Yeah, Man United might be trying to get to Camavinga, but it will mean Van der Beek or Pogba are going. And that's always been the story. It's always been the story. Romano said it when he was on the show at the start of the summer. So, you know, lots of people are saying that. But look, as I said, Locatelli was what was asked about. Would I take Locatelli at United? I love Serie A football, and I didn't watch a lot of it last season. So I can't really judge Locatelli on his club form at Sassuolo. But he did play a lot there as a CDM. Just for Italy, he doesn't really do that role because they've got Jorginho. I think he's going to Juventus. Romano told us that he's going to Juventus. So I think he's going to Juventus. Tony Laverty says, Camavinga can tackle, but too creative and skilled to shelter back for 90 minutes every week would be like playing Prime Ronaldo at number 9, says Tony Laverty. See, I disagree. I do think that Camavinga is what he wants to be. Does he want to be a CDM or does he want to be a Bruno Fernandes type of player? I don't think you can say he's not a CDM just because he hasn't played there that much. I think if you watch the player, he can play there. But I think you'd have to. It's a difficult one. I don't think we're getting Camavinga anyway. But look, apparently United are interested in him. Camavinga is not the DM we need. He's a replacement for Van der Beek or Pogba, says Arturo, and maybe that's what he will be. A replacement for Pogba or Camavinga. I don't know. But Pogba or Van der Beek. But he can easily play in the pivot, says Hamish, and I agree with that. I think he can play in the pivot. I think he would. I think he could easily play there with Pogba. And as Tan says, Camavinga loves to defend more than attack. I think Camavinga's best attribute is his defence. I think his best attribute is his tackling. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you went and checked on who scored and it says loves to tackle. You know, I think that's his strongest asset. So, but look, I can't pretend to have watched him loads of times. I've probably only watched him play. I haven't watched him play 90 minutes last season. I'll put my hands up and say that. So I've seen little clips here and there. But, you know, I think he's one of those players that we've all gone and had a look at because everybody knows about Camavinga and everyone has known about him for about 18 months. And I would welcome him at Manchester United. As I welcome Lee McDowell, latest member of the United Stand Members Club. Thank you very much for joining. Ehab says Camavinga's best attribute for me is his tenacity and agility. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you, Ehab. Mark, I'm in a wheelchair and you've really helped during lockdown and made me more confident in my football opinions. Thanks, mate, says Daniel Kirk. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks for supporting the channel, and thanks for having the confidence to, back yourself in relation to football. Football is the universal sport, and it's all about opinion, and that's what this channel is all about. TUS Army. But no, it is. It is about opinion. I always say to somebody, look, your opinion's stupid, but at least it's your opinion. I'm not saying your opinion's stupid, Daniel, at all. But what I'm saying is, I won't agree with some people's opinions, but if you agree with it and you think it's right, that's the world. That's football. Everybody has an opinion. Some people will think Camavinga can't play as a CDM. Some people will think that he can. Simple as that. Let's talk about... He's not playing for France, but it's hard to play for France. It's very hard to play for France. Let's talk about... PMV Patrick says, great young man, Daniel. And PMV Patrick, big up one of our members, as I can see. As is Wildcat44997. And... Camavinga and Donny van der Beek in the pivot would be class, says King Caravan. Well, I'd have to see it to make my mind up. I'm not going to sit there and say it would be amazing without seeing it. There's been plenty of combinations that haven't worked. I thought Varane and Keane and Scholes as a midfield three would work, and it didn't. I don't think we actually played them as a three, to be honest, but it didn't work anyway. But let's talk about Dalot. So Dalot, this is coming from Sky Sports. Let me just read out the quote for you. Welcome to Daniel Kirk, latest member of the United Stand Members Club. Thanks for joining, Daniel. So Sky Sports is saying, Sky Sports. I'm not on Sky Sports News. I'm saying like I'm down south now. Sky Sports. I can't do it. Jim White. Sky Sports News no more. But this is from Sky Sports. Diego Dalot is getting closer and closer to AC Milan. The operation is almost closed with Manchester United. Only a last effort from all parties remains to reach the final agreement. And this sounds good, because this better not be a bloody loan deal. This better be a full-time deal. I don't want to see a loan deal. I want to see money in the bank. We need some money to come in. Now, I'm worried that we're going to keep Lingard, because the thing about Lingard is that is £25 million that I thought was going towards the transfer budget gone. And it's also a player that I thought was going to leave, taking a space in the squad that I didn't think was going to be there. So it's a double negative for Lingard staying for me. And I think most people are, I think most people really like Jesse. I really do. But I don't think they're going to like this move from him or the club, because I just think we've been here before. It lacks ambition. It's not good for Jesse. It's not good for United. And more importantly, it's 25 million that we thought we were going to get to spend in the summer that now we're not, by keeping a player that we shouldn't keep again. But with Dalot, hopefully, look, 10, 15 million, I'll take it. We might get 20 million, but 15 million for Dalot is 15 million in the bank, and it's a move that probably should have happened last summer. If Aaron Wan-Bissaka can play CDM, so can Camavinga in Ollie's eyes, says Mario. And Camavinga plays like Ronaldinho, says Nana. Not convinced about that. I hope we learn our mistake from Bellingham and sign Camavinga. At the age of 18, we cannot miss out on a player like him, like we did Jude, says YUFC. I mean, look, somebody did say, do you think there's a similarity between Bellingham and Camavinga? And I don't like similarities. These are two very young players who are playing the game of football. And I think that, you could add Gravenberch into that at Ajax. But I tell you what, if I could take any of those three players, it would be between Bellingham and Camavinga. Now, I'd probably take Bellingham. I would, because, English bias, whatever. But I do think that those two players are very interesting. And if United could get hold of one of them, we should have got hold of Bellingham. Then, it would be a step in the right direction. But they're very different players. Camavinga, similar to De Jong, good against the high press, says Bryn Holdcroft. And why is Jesse deciding to stay? He shines at West Ham. Well, I don't know whether it's just paper talk. Jesse should go for his own career. I think it's very obvious. Ollie will destroy Camavinga like he did Donny. No point in getting excited, says White Owl. And Mark, do you think Martial will be moved on this summer? If yes, where do you think he will go, says Jordan White. I don't think Martial's going to move this summer. I've said this numerous times. I don't think he's going to move on this summer, Anthony Martial. But, you know what? We do keep hearing about Martial and Donny van der Beek, and maybe that's a way that Manchester United can generate some cash. Jesse, please leave, says Ravito. In a nice way, I think we're saying that. And look, I'm not going to lie. I think you say what you say. It's an opinion, isn't it? But for me, I've always said about Lingard, and I feel like I'm saying it all the time. Why are we giving him a new contract when we didn't pick him? We're giving him a new contract for playing well for West Ham. Why is he signing for Manchester United when he was the star at West Ham and he was playing every week and he looked really happy? You're not going to start for United, I'm afraid. I think it's best for everybody, but look, we'll see. And I think it's best for Dalot. Can we just take it back to Dalot, because I know a lot of you like Dalot. I'm not going to dispute the fact that Dalot is a good player. I was quite excited about him when we bought him, but it's very clear that Ollie doesn't rate him. It's very clear that Ollie doesn't rate Donny. It's very clear that Ollie doesn't rate Twansebi. That's 3 players that I think are better than some of our starters. But, the manager's got to manage. This is why next season's so exciting, because if he gets it wrong, I think, the time is up. Just have to say that I'm from Sweden and we will win, even though we have Lindelof at the back, says Frederick Karlström. Yeah, you're playing on Tuesday night against Ukraine. I think you will win that, actually. And then you're playing the winner of England or Germany. So Germany-Sweden in the quarterfinals then. News on Sionku, is that true? No. I purposely haven't spoken about Sionku to Manchester United, Sharwin, for a very, very specific reason. Because Hansela, just a minute, I just checked on SofaScore and it says tackling, long balls and ball control are his biggest strengths. Exactly what we need in relation to Camavinga. Yeah, SofaScore's not where I normally go, but there you go. According to DiMarzio, Dalot is going on another dry loan to Milan. How does this benefit us at all? We're dreadful at selling players, to Stephen O'Donoghue. Well, thanks for the update, Stephen. If he's going on loan again, I despair at this football club. I really do. We just cannot move players on. He must be on 100 grand a week or something stupid like that. It really is crazy. JB Park says, hello Mark, what do you think is best for us? If we can sign Haaland now and reinforce our defence next season? Well, we're not signing Haaland now, JP Park. We will not be signing him now. But, maybe we'll go for him next season, but we're not going to get him now. On the Sionku story, let me just say this about Sionku. We will not be signing Sionku. There has been peripheral links to us. I don't really want to talk about it as a headline story because it's not going to happen. Leicester would want 60, 70 million for Sionku, and United are not going to spend that, so it's not going to happen. New contract to sell him for a good and profitable price. Only reason he's going for 25 million is because he has a year left in his contract, is YUFC. Yeah, but you know what? You give Jesse the new contract, he stays for another year, he hardly ever plays, and then people will only pay 25 million for him anyway. We'll get 20 million for him now, 25 million. If you're keeping him, you've got to play him as a first teamer. That's the only reason to keep Lingard. You can't. If I'm Jesse, there's no point in me staying at this club to sit on the bench. And that's what's going to happen. If he's going to be a first teamer, then look, I'll sit back and go, wow, I'm surprised. But I can't see that. So getting him to sign a new contract to sell him for more, you're increasing his wages from 100 grand to 130 grand a week. No one can afford to buy him then. If we give Jesse Lingard 130 grand a week and a 3-year deal, he's staying at United for another 3 years. Because nobody will buy him on 130k a week. This is why we can't sell players, because we pay stupid wages. Sean Turner says Lingard staying is pure laziness from the club. Anything to avoid negotiations with other teams. We are useless in the market. Embarrassing, says Sean. If it does happen, Sean, is it not just another example of what we were talking about this morning? This in-house club. Jobs for the boys. We recruit our coaches from within. We recruit our CEO from within. We recruit our director of football from within. We don't buy players, we just keep extending contracts of players that are already here. Everything is insular. Everything is kept within. It's clearly a tactic of the club. And what happens in 3 years with Lingard? We give him a coaching job. I don't know. Look, it's very Lingard specific, this, and it's not fair because I think he had a fantastic season at the end last year, and he should be going back to a club like West Ham or Leicester and playing, or Spurs or someone like that. I mean, I think Spurs would take him. Go and play first team football for a club week in, week out, where you're going to get played, where you're not going to be fighting for top 4. Maybe. Well, then again, West Ham fought for top 4, didn't they? Anyway, mates rates, I suppose. Why don't we play 4-4-2 with Rashford? Well, I think 4-4-2 is dead parish, but yeah, maybe it'll come back one day. So is Camavinga transfer actually going to happen? Says Mark Rendell. Look, there's a feeling that United could do the deal. I mean, if PSG are the main competition, as the person said a few minutes ago, they've got Verratti, they've got Paredes, they've got Herrera will probably go, Idrissa Gueye might go, but they've got Wijnaldum, they've got Sarabia. They've got lots of midfield options at that football club. Danilo plays in the midfield as well. So I don't know. I don't know whether he'd go to PSG. Kessie is an interesting player. I thought he was going to be going to Chelsea. So, but look, there's loads and loads of teams that haven't done any business yet. Would you bring Ander Herrera back? Says Bryn. Never should have left in the first place. Don't think I'd bring him back now. It would be silly to bring him back because the same manager watched him walk out the door. So it would be defeatist to bring him back. He never should have been allowed to go in the first place. Camavinga does want to go to PSG, the Savage. He does. But it doesn't mean that he definitely will. And I don't live in that world now where if a player would rather go elsewhere, I wouldn't take them at United. I mean, if Sancho wanted to go to Real Madrid and they couldn't afford him and he said, I'll come to United, would you go, no, don't want you. You wanted to go to Madrid. I think, beggars can't be choosers. United haven't won a title in years. If we can get hold of good players, we can get hold of good players. I've said in the past I'm giving Ollie until December, but if we keep Lingard, he simply does not deserve the job, unfortunately, says Mario. I tell you what, Mario, for me it's all about next season. It's all about what we do in the summer transfer window, but if he does persist with McFred, and he does give a contract to Lingard and Mata and Matic, I've got to say I'm very worried about where this football club's going. And it's nothing to do with being Ollie out, really. It's just the fact that I know a competent manager wouldn't do it. And, if Ollie's being told or forced to do this sort of stuff, then he needs to leak it out. If these things are happening above his head, he needs to leak it out. Because it could be. It could be the new director of football, Murta. It could be Woodward saying, no, you're not buying anybody. We're keeping these players on because we believe that putting them on contracts makes their value more. But these things need to come out. Maybe we are keeping Lingard to keep Pogba happy, says Philip. I don't think Pogba and Lingard are that close, to be honest. I don't think it's like that. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching. There is a watch-along kicking off on That's Football in just under half an hour. That's Football for the Netherlands against Czech Republic. And then it is Portugal against Belgium at 8 o'clock on That's Football as well. We won't have a 7 o'clock show tonight or tomorrow or Tuesday because these games can go to extra time, but there is a 10 o'clock show tonight, so tune in for that. I'll see you on That's Football. Lots to continue chatting about. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe. Bottom right hand corner, lots going on now. We went to bed last night, we woke up today, and Camavinga is the big thing. Things can move fast. Let's hope that this keeps moving, but I fear this will be extinguished quite quick, but let's see what happens. Thanks everyone for watching. Scooby-Doo. We'll see you on That's Football at 4:30. Speak to you later. Thank you very much. And TikTok links in the video description if you want to give me a follow on there.